Welcome to the Overby Center. Thanks for coming out. I hope the parking worked for us tonight. If anybody had any problems, good. If you had any problems, see me afterwards. Before we get started, I just thought we should pause just a moment and recognize that the Ole Miss community lost a wonderful man with the death of Stan Sandroni. He's not only a big-time Rebel fan, but I learned some years ago was a big Red Sox fan too. And this spring, Coach Bianco was there. He helped arrange a wonderful lunch upstairs for all of us Red Sox people, and arranged to get Coach Boo Ferris over from Cleveland for it. So we're really gonna miss Stan. And on that note, I think it's also appropriate we send condolences over to our friends at Mississippi State over the loss of Jack Crystal. I think any of us who follow college sports in Mississippi knew his voice. On a happier note, we're just real pleased that Coach Bianco and company have come to be with us today, and I'm just going to simply turn the program over to Keith Kessinger, who's the radio analyst for Rebel Baseball, and very good, recognizable name from another good Ole Miss family. Keith, thank you. It's all yours.
Thank you, Curtis. Thank you very much. We appreciate you having us here tonight. And obviously, let me introduce who is up here with me. I don't think Coach Mike Bianco needs any introduction, but obviously Mike Bianco on the end. Christian Trent, Sykes Orvis, a couple of our senior players. Probably doesn't seem like you ought to be seniors at this point, guys, but a couple of senior players. And I guess, Coach, let's just start out with, obviously the program is to Omaha and beyond. Kind of cool to be talking about Omaha, huh?
Well, no doubt, and long time in waiting, though. We should say, but just a terrific year, and one that I know, of course, the players are excited and proud. I know the Ole Miss family, was a lot of them made it to Omaha, and what a neat event that they put on. But as we've talked about, where that started, and it wasn't just in Lafayette. It wasn't in College Station. It actually started back last August, and one of those things where I think all coaches or any business that you run or that you're in charge of, you always evaluate. You always sit back and say, what do we need to do better? And one of the things that we talked about, as a staff, we have a coaches retreat, if you will. And what we do is sit down for basically a whole day and kind of evaluate the program from A to Z. And this usually happens in August, a couple weeks before the kids get back. The coaches are back from recruiting. And one of the things that you've certainly heard, if you're a big fan of our baseball program, was this theme of toughness. And we had hired a new strength coach last summer by the name of Ben Fleming. He came to us from Kansas State, and as we sat in that meeting and talked about where the program was and what did we need to do to get to Omaha to win a national championship, because that's the ultimate goal was, and I tried to explain to the coaches where I thought we were good. Maybe contrary to popular belief, in the fan base, we've had some good years. We're one of 2 or 3 programs that have been to postseason 12 times in 14 years. But what did we have to do to get to that next level, to host a regional, to get to Omaha? And literally it comes down to a game or two. And those that are big baseball fans understand that there's such a fine line. It wasn't like we were coming off a 4-26 year in the Southeastern Conference or had a losing record, but it seemed like we'd always come up short. There'd be a series where we just didn't win a game, that we end up losing a series, and when you look back at it and you end up 15-15 in our league, which is still good by standards, still in postseason, but you're not at that elite level. And how do you get to that point? And one of the things that kept coming back is we have to be tougher. We have to be able to make that pitch, get that hit, make that play in the field, and because you don't know which pitch it's going to be that wins you a championship. And so how do you get them tougher? Well, the first way that you can get them tougher, come back to Ben Fleming, is get them in the weight room and get them to do things that they didn't think they could do. Not just in the weight room, but different things that he basically invented himself, some tug of war, some different runs, to push kids that are 18 and 22 years old further than they ever thought they could be pushed, and to do things that they never thought they could. And that was kind of the theme, is that we're going to be the toughest team in the country. We're going to be tough enough to handle the adversity that this game gives you day in and day out, especially in the toughest baseball conference in the country. And so that was kind of the theme all fall, pushing through. Then once we started fall practice, different competitions, the inter-squad games, we put more emphasis on that. We either celebrated the winners or penalized the losers of the inter-squad games, and to where you could see that the kids were starting to embrace that, where they stopped, looking about how, what was going wrong or how the rules changed. We'd sometimes change the rules right in the middle of it. Well, you got to handle that. There's going to be a bad umpire's call. There's going to be things that don't go our way. It's how we handle it. Life's not fair. Get used to it. And you could see kind of the evolution of this team back in the fall, where all of a sudden, kids stopped complaining and started getting into competing. And so once we got to the spring, we knew that we probably had a different team.
Sykes, let me bring you in here. You had been here before. Did you notice a difference in that conditioning program last fall?
Yeah. Like Coach B said, the main thing that we were going to work on was trying to be tougher as a team, and Coach Fleming really did a good job at doing that. He came up with a lot of stuff that really would push us to what we thought was our breaking point, but we learned quickly that you can get it done. You just have to kind of rally around each other and get it done, even though it was pretty bad at certain points.
Christian, you had spent a year at LSU and obviously then a year in junior college. I'm assuming it was pretty tough for you last fall as well.
Yeah, it was awful. I don't know. I felt like I died almost every day. But yeah, it gets you mentally tougher. I mean, just from this year, doing stuff that we would have done last year, which was something you'd consider to just be awful. You kind of just know what to expect, and you know how to push your body through it. It's not in your mind, you think you want to quit. It's kind of just, this is what we do, and this is what it takes to be as good as we were.
Well, Coach, we get through fall practice, and of course, I'm around the program some. I kind of sensed a little confidence, maybe even a chip on the shoulder. This was a team that not a lot of people were talking about, but it seemed like within the program, guys were pretty confident leaving fall.
And I think once you go through a fall like that and you start to see the chemistry and you start to see the guys kind of come together, and we knew that we were talented, but sometimes the prognosticators, the ones that put out the polls, don't know that. And I don't mean that as a slight to them. It's just our sport. There's just not enough media coverage, unlike football and basketball. When these polls come out, sometimes we put too much credence in them. If we're high or if we're low or if we're not in them. And, not being ranked, which was unusual for us in our program. And then I think when the coaches poll came out in the Southeastern Conference and we were picked 6th or 7th of 7 teams in the West, of course, I think people started to get nervous, but I think really not just the coaches, but I really credit the players because that didn't bother them. They knew that how good Chris Ellis could be. They knew how good Christian Trent could be. They knew how good Will Allen and Sykes and Austin Anderson and Errol Robinson could play shortstop as a freshman. And we had a very dynamic outfield because they saw it every single day. So I think going into the season, and rightly so, a lot of our fans were a little nervous, what to expect. But I think inside the program, we knew we had a pretty good team.
Let's skip forward. We go 16-2, win 16 of the 18 non-conference games, and as the schedule makers would have it, we go to number 1 South Carolina that first weekend.
That's how you draw it up, right? You play number 1 ranked South Carolina on the road to open up play. But again, we get off to a good start. I really look at that first to land weekend where you're opening up on a road against a regional type team, a team that is used to going to postseason, and not, again, the best scheduling that you're going to open up on the road. But we open up on the road. We play about as well as you can really play against a pretty good team, and the pitching, Christian in his first outing was dominant. Chris Ellis was dominant. I think Sykes hit a home run. We hit some home runs with the bats that you can't hit home runs with, and I think from that point forward, we started to play with a lot of confidence. But the big test was going to be that South Carolina weekend, and we show up on Friday night and play great, and I thought it was a tough game. It was one of those, you got to show your toughness. And Chris Ellis, started that game. We fell behind, but Chris showed his toughness. He hung in that game and waited. I think Boz ended up hitting a grand slam to put us ahead. We went on Friday night on the road against number 1 South Carolina, and all of a sudden Twitter, now we got a bunch of believers, But what we weren't ready for is the next day. The next day we come out on that Saturday. We're going to play 2 games on that Saturday because of rain, and we got to win 1 game to win the series on the road against number 1 South Carolina, and we're winning 4-2 in the 9th with 2 outs. And they get a couple 2-out hits, and then Kirk Gibson comes to the plate.
Sure did.
And can't even run to first base, and hits a 1-2 slider offering from Laxer out of the park, and we end up losing that game in extra innings, lose game 2. So when you started talking about toughness, we win on Friday, everything's going great, and then all of a sudden, that punch to the gut, they knocked the wind out of us. But I think that's where we started to see this team. I think, at that point, we show up the next weekend to play, I believe,
Missouri at home.
Missouri at home, and a team that we haven't played before, because we got a bye against them last year, and we sweep them at home. And it was kind of going back and forth each week like that, where we started to handle some adversity, but the kids certainly showed some toughness.
And then after that weekend, I guess really kind of if there's a low point in last season, we go to Alabama.
Yeah.
Play 3 games, could have won all 3. We don't win any.
Yeah.
I know that had to be at least at that point, a tough spot in the season.
No doubt. We kind of right the ship. We sweep. We go 4-2, and now we're on the top end of the league. But it's a long grind. We talk about 30 games. You got to stay in it. And we go to Alabama, who's ranked in the top 25. But we're feeling pretty good about ourselves at that point. But we play 3 games where I think 2 of them we certainly had the lead and kind of late, if I can remember right, and end up not winning them and lose them on the mound, don't score the runs, can't figure out a way to win the game. And I think we also lost to Southern Miss at that point in the middle of the week, so we had lost like 4 in a row. And again, when you guys start to question, don't think that they don't sometimes question. So that was a concern of mine. Will we be tough enough to handle this grind? And so we bounced back that next weekend against Auburn.
Yeah, and Sykes, before we get to the Auburn, let's just talk a little bit. Was there ever a point, it's hard to go back at that point with that team, was there ever a point where you felt like internally there was any doubting, or it was just a matter of time before things got turned around again?
No, not really. I mean, we went down there. I mean, we played South Carolina, and number 1 team in the country, and we walked out of there really confident. We knew we should have won that second game, and the guys in South Carolina were telling us like they thought we were really good, and they got away with one, and we went and swept Missouri, and then we played Alabama. I mean, they're a really good team, but it was just one of those funny weekends where everything was just going right for them on the field, and they got the hits when they needed to get hits. The pitchers made the pitches when they needed to, and they ended up sweeping us. But we never lost our confidence. We knew how good we were. We knew. We were going to a good part of the schedule for us to win some ball games, so we knew, going into the next weekend against Auburn, we had to get the job done and try to go for the sweep and get back on track.
Mike, you mentioned Auburn. That Friday night game at Auburn, that's one of the memorable moments of the season coming up right here.
Anderson doesn't really need a bat for the 3rd straight time. Oh, swung on, fly ball, right field. They left it over the plate, all the way to the wall. It's gone! You've got to be kidding me! 3-run homer for Austin Anderson on a pitch that was supposed to be up and away for ball 1 on an intentional walk.
Outside of the color analyst laughing all the way through that.
You notice
that highlight, as I laughed again watching it. First of all, have you ever seen that?
Never. I mean, and that's one of the great things about our game. You still, after all these years and how many games you've played or watched, there's still moments like that leave you scratching your head, good and bad. And but that was just one of those moments that, again, when you talk, it takes people, what an amazing thing, and people talk about the pitcher leaving the ball out of play. How about the guts to swing at it? I mean, you pop that ball up or you cap one back to the pitcher, but that showed you kind of, again, some of that toughness where your team captain, Austin Anderson, and that was the second time he was trying to be intentionally walked, or they were trying to intentionally walk him during that game. And I remember, like it was yesterday, standing on the top step, and I remember the last time that they tried to intentionally walk, that the guy left some pitches, close. And I was about to yell out to Godwin, hey, if it's close, because there was a runner at third, all you had to do is hit a fly ball. All you had to do is poke one out there, and, the guy's lobbing it in there. If it's close enough to do it, never expected a home run. And of course, the 3-time All-American coach in first base takes credit, said, when he intentionally walked him the first time, Stephen Head said, hey, listen, I had gotten a base hit against Tennessee. You can do that, if they leave it close enough, but never a home run. That was amazing.
So, Christian, you always got game 2. It's got to always be fun emotionally after game 1 like that, being able to come back out and pitch on that Saturday game.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like the confidence was up after. I mean, if you lose like that, I mean, if I was that pitcher, I would just hang it up. You'd have to quit after something like that happens. But yeah, I mean, it's good going into a game 2. If we get the win and the confidence is high. But on the other side of it's the other way. Keeping us in it. If we drop the Friday night game, then I know I have to give it my all. So we can get to that game 3 with a 1-1 split.
We end up winning all 3 games against Auburn. And we're basically just taking weekend series here as we go through, and we go to state. We get the Friday win at state, and then kind of one of those toughness moments. That Saturday loss was a tough one down there.
It might have been the toughest loss that I've ever had to handle, especially in regular season. And as Keith said, we went on Friday night, and I guess they call it Super Bulldog Weekend. It's our Grove Bowl. They have their spring football game, and they're trying to set the record for the most the highly attended game on a campus ever. And they have about 15,000 people there. And we actually fall behind, but then we tie it up, and then Sykes hits a home run late against the wind. And of course, you never saw 15,000 Bulldogs leave so quickly. And so we just got to close it out. I think we have a 2 or 3 run lead, like in the 11th inning. We just got to close it out. And once again, we just have some difficulty, and some balls fall in, and just some bad fortune. Proud of Laxer hanging in there and throwing the ball. We misplayed. We put an outfielder too deep. We just made some mistakes. We have an error in that inning. But the neat thing is we come back. On that Sunday, where I know it's a kick in the gut to me and the players, because not only do you lose a game that you should have won, not only do you lose a game that would have won you the weekend, but you lose it against your arch rival in front of the largest crowd that ever see a college baseball game, and at their place. And so that was going to be a big test. Could we respond on Sunday? And of course, in the pregame challenge to the guys, and boy, did they. I mean, we beat them pretty bad on Sunday, and really made it no question. And so I think that, to me, the two things that I remember, vividly about was, bouncing back on that Sunday, and then later, the Kentucky series.
LSU comes in the next week and only get 1, but Christian, really just want to talk to you. Just facing LSU, I know that had to have some special meaning for you.
Yeah, it was a little bit different. I mean, the preparation was the same, but going against a former team and seeing the old skipper, Paul Maneri, I was going into it with a little bit of a different bit of emotions. But, I mean, once the game got rolling, I mean, it was just like every other start. But, yeah, it felt a little bit better beating them down than some of the other schools.
And Mike, with Christian, it seems like nothing has ever phased him, and obviously we'll get into that as the season goes on. But that, for me, you and I talked about in the office the other day, that was kind of the time I was like, man, nothing's going to bother this guy.
And I think, there's moments that about the team. There's moments during the year as a coach you start to say, this guy's going to be a difference maker. And I think that was the game. He was pitched great to that point. Of course, he's undefeated and he's having a great year. But I was worried, could he keep the emotions in check? Could he, obviously he went there, out of high school. Obviously everybody knows he wants to beat not only the team that he once played for, but his home state. And they want to beat him. And so there's a lot of emotions. Can he stay focused? Can he? And I'll tell you, I mean, he was really, really good that day and pitched deep into the game. And I think that at that point you knew that not only was Christian good, but he was a difference maker.
We go to Kentucky the next week. I know from talking to you then and now, you really feel like if there was a turning point where things really got going, Lexington was where.
And I don't know if people realized it when they look back at this season, because it's such a long season. But I think as a coach, we had so much, and you can tell by as we're going through from week to week, good and bad. It was a good weekend and a bad weekend, and how we handled it. But at some point, if you're going to win, you got to go on a run. At some point, you got to race towards the finish line, and that was really the theme for that weekend on Friday night. Talking to the players prior to the game is, hey, this is the time that you have to make a decision. Nobody's going to lose, so you can win the SEC. You don't slip in the back door. If you're going to win the Southeastern Conference, we're in position. I think at that point we were a game or two out of first. We were like maybe tied for first, or a game out of first in the West. We were close with enough time left, but we had to make our run. And so if you want to win this, you need to go do it, and boy, did they answer. And we swept a very good Kentucky team on the road where nobody wins in Lexington. And we went on a string and won out of the last 12. We went 9-3 in the SEC. And I really thought it was that Kentucky series that really got us some momentum.
Sykes, that's a fun place to hit, huh? Short porch and
Yeah,
right.
I got
close out.
Yeah, I love the hit there. We going in there. I mean, like Coach B said, he challenged us. I mean, SEC was right there for us, and everybody. We also, as an offense, we kind of know with a little chip on our shoulder because they kept comparing us and Kentucky to the top two offenses in the SEC. So we wanted to go out there and show them who's better. And we went down there and boat raced them at their own game. So that was kind of fun. And but yeah, I mean, it's a fun place to hit, man. You're up on a little hill, ball flies, and we got a lot of good swings off, and had fun.
Next 2 weekends at home, Arkansas and Georgia. We win both of those series. That leads to a plane flight down to Texas A&M and an opportunity certainly to get that SEC Western Division championship, Coach.
Yeah, and so we come back home, spend 2 weeks here, as you said, and play well. And I don't think great. And that's one of the things when I look back at the season. We just played well from day one to the finish. It wasn't like we went on a hot streak and won 12 in a row or did anything like this. This team was very consistent, and but we knew when we got to College Station, this is it. If you want to win a championship, you got to play really well. And we had talked about as coaches, not to the players, but as coaches. A lot of times it comes down to that last weekend. If you can just win that last weekend or sweep, and I look back at some of the great teams, the 05 team that won the SEC West that ended up being a national seed, they swept Arkansas on the road the final weekend to close out the year. The 09 team swept Arkansas on the road to win the SEC championship. And that's what the great teams do. The great teams finish. And so we're in position, but we got to finish.
Check out that game, too, the SEC Western Division.
Tonight's our night. Tonight, be aggressive. Go after it. Go like you're trying to win something, but you got to come to get them tonight. Tonight's our night. Let's go win a championship. Let's go.
Deep in the heart of Texas tonight. Hi again, everybody. Welcome to College Station alongside former LSU All-American Big Ben McDonald. I'm Clay Matvick. Ole Miss, they're going to be facing a right-hander, Grayson Long, the sophomore from Mont Belvieu, Texas. Coming into the night, first place in the SEC West by 1 game over Mississippi State. Ole Miss 1 out away from clinching the SEC Western Division crown. Trying to bunt for a hit. And he's out! Home plate umpire Joe Judkowitz says he is out at home plate, and that's going to end it.
And Coach, I know you, obviously, this is what you work for. You work for championships, and one of the goals you're always going to do is try to win the West. But when you and I have talked, you felt like from a hosting standpoint, that was very important.
Yeah, I think that was the game. And, after that, of course, we want to win the next day, and hopefully Florida loses, and maybe we can tie them for the overall championship. But that was the first championship we were going to win since the '09, SEC championship. And, just so proud of the guys to watch them. And one of the neat things, as you know, as a coach, is we'll all talk about the championships and the rings and going to Omaha and all those things, but one of the neat things is to watch the kids celebrate. What a cool thing as a coach to watch Weathersby, hug Allen and watch these guys and just really let their guard down and be themselves. And that was a neat moment for us, I think, to really kind of solidify everything. Certainly when I looked at that night, saying we're going to host. But now if we can win, on Saturday, the final game, or if we can go to the SEC tournament and play really well, we have a shot for a national seed. But I thought that was the game right there that clinched us hosting.
Sykes' third season, as we talked about earlier here. I know that's a moment that you've been looking for a while.
Yeah, that was my first championship here at Ole Miss, and just proud of the guys. We knew what we had to do to go in there and take 2 out of 3, and we went out there, got the first one, and then Trent gave us a great chance the second game, and fought and won. And nothing better than winning a championship out here.
Coach, we get back from the SEC tournament selection show. We are hosting, and before we get into that, I've never seen anything like it. There can't be a better place to host a regional than what happens here.
There isn't, and our fans, have bought into it so much, and it makes, that's what makes college baseball so neat. And people that go, for the first time get hooked, and they start to realize, what a neat sport it is. And when you come to Swayze Field and you see 10,000 people, and especially at that time of year where the weather's terrific, it's hot, but it's a lot better than it is in February. And so much riding on it, and you can feel that the fans are proud. They're always wearing their school colors, but when they're walking in, with that regional ticket and they're going through the gates, the crowd, I think, has a different energy level. And the amazing thing is, I think sometimes we don't realize how special it really is. I know we're all proud of it, and yourselves included. But there's only maybe one other place, and that's Baton Rouge, that has anything like that. And so when we host a regional, it's either the most attended regional, or like this year, it was the second most attended regional in the country. No other place, not Texas, not Florida State, not Miami, not these great traditional baseball powerhouses. They don't ever draw like we do. Our people are so supportive, and it's just a great atmosphere.
We'll bring both you guys in here. Just the experience, Christian, run out of the dugout with that kind of atmosphere. That had to be one of the reasons you ended up at Ole Miss.
Yeah, for sure. They say it's the greatest atmosphere in college baseball, and coming from LSU where it's it's a big crowd, and it's really just not the same. The outfield, everyone's into it. Even like in left field, having the grills and all that. It's special. It's something like you never see, especially in college baseball.
Sykes, you'd been part of regional teams, but you had not been able to play at home. How special for you?
Like what Christian said, that's what all the coaches talk about when you come here on your visits, of how special this place is. And Coach Smith and Coach Head used to play, they said you haven't seen a crowd until you see it in a super regional or regional here. So we finally got to host out here, and it was something else. It was so electric. It was the loudest game I've ever been a part of. And they really get into, and it's a lot of fun to play with. I remember a lot of the other guys and the other teams are saying how awesome it was. it was a great baseball atmosphere.
Well, Coach, we get Jacksonville State. That is a name that a lot of Ole Miss fans don't like when they come to Oxford at this point. Play a good first game. Had to feel good about that.
We do, and we play well. Chris pitches well. We get off to a good start, but you got to win game 2. It's win game 1, and you play them one at a time. But there's really, when you look at it as far as the road to winning the championship, it doesn't matter if you lose the first game or the second game. It's the same path. So the best path is to win both games, and then you get to that day 3 where they have to beat you twice, and statistically you look at it, that doesn't happen very often. And so Christian gives us a big lift in game 2, and now we're ready for game 3.
And that Washington team that we played, that was an awfully good baseball team.
They really were. And I think that's one of the neat things also about the regional that we don't talk about, where we play non-conference games here. Some teams are good and some teams aren't as good. But when you get to postseason, they're here for a reason. All these teams are good. If it's Jacksonville State, if it's Washington. Washington was the number 2 team in the Pac-12, which was one of the best conferences in college baseball and traditionally a great baseball conference. So we didn't know a lot about them. We got a lot of scouting information, but we knew that they were going to be very, very good.
Well, I'm going to get you to talk about a moment in the championship game, but first, I want us to see that moment against Washington.
The top of the 10th inning, 2 outs, a runner on first, and the new pitcher is Trevor Dunlap. That is a fair ball. Down the line. London corrals it. He can't pick it up. Allen will score. Orvis to third. And the Rebels take the lead.
All right, Mike, you and I have talked about it. Any thought about pinch running at first base right there?
100%. And if you watch closely, that ball kind of carom off that wall and get past that right fielder. I deserve that bounce. I deserve that bounce. Yes, I'm sitting there with 2 outs, and I'm saying, do I run Deshaun? And if Sykes hits a double, I don't think Will can score. Sykes is not going to hit a triple. He doesn't have that. So it's either, or he's going to get a single, and then maybe we'll run him if we get to second base. And as I'm kind of debating it, it was either the first or second pitch, wasn't it, that you hit?
Second pitch, yeah.
Second pitch. I'm debating it, but then I'm saying there's 2 outs. It's not worth it. I don't want to burn because I don't want to pull Will Allen, one of our best hitters, out of the lineup. And then change catchers, at a premium position. So I said, no, I'm going to leave Will. And just as I'm saying I'm going to leave Will, Sykes, smokes that ball down the right field line. And I mean, when you hit it, everybody else was cheering. I went, oh no. I'm thinking, Will Allen is going to get held up at third base, and then that ball caroms, and the ball goes down to the line. So even I could have scored on that. So.
And Sykes, were you more surprised Will scored or that you actually got a triple on it?
All of the above. I mean, if you would have told me that we would have won a regional championship on Will scoring on a triple I hit, I mean, that doesn't happen too often. Me and Will, Coach Lafferty dubbed us the convoy, two dump trucks that ran out there. So I hit it, and when I was rounding second, I was just like, all right, double, and I saw it kick, and I was like, oh God. And I looked at Will, and Will's been catching. I think that was like the 10th inning now,
10th,
so
yeah.
he's been catching all day out in that hot weather, and Will looked like he had sandbags on his leg, but he was motoring, he made it, and then I slid in the third. I kind of just blacked out after that, as you saw.
Well, that was the top of the 10th. Let's watch that last out in the bottom 10th. Another one of the good moments.
Payoff pitch. Runner will take off with 2 down. Full count to Mitsui. Rebels leading 3-2, bottom of the 10th. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss! He struck him out! Weathersby throws his glove in the air, and the Rebels are dogpiling on the mound. Ole Miss, the 2014 Oxford Regional Champions, will head to the Supers next week.
Well, Coach dogpiling at Swayze, I know that's got to be in the plan somewhere.
No doubt, and again, mentioned it earlier. What a neat thing, and to watch it and to watch it at home. To see those guys, and a guy like Scott Weathersby, a Mississippi kid from Hattiesburg, on the mound, and just a gutsy performance by him. And of course, the neat thing is to win, you got to have the stars play well. There's no doubt, but you got to have some other guys. You got to have some heroes step up, and certainly Scott was one of those heroes.
Sykes, you may not remember this post game. I'm trying to interview you. You don't even want to talk to me because you're wanting to run around the whole time with the team. But I was able to hold you long enough, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I felt bad. I saw everybody running around, all the mayhem, and I wanted to go be part of that. But No, I mean, that was probably one of the coolest experiences of my baseball career. I mean, running around the field and then running out there behind the right field and going in the student section, that was something else. That was a lot of fun. So, I mean, that's why you come here to play baseball at Ole Miss. You come out here to win, and I mean, the fans love when you win, and it's just a lot of fun to be out here.
That leads us to the Super Regional. We're going to load up and head down to Lafayette. I had coached there at Arkansas State as a head coach, so I thought I had a sense of what we would be running into, but I have to tell you, when I got out of the car that first day, it was like tailgating in the Grove.
Yeah.
As we came in. It was an unbelievable atmosphere at Lafayette.
It really was, and they were ready. You could tell this was a very talented team. Again, another number 1 ranked team in the country at this point. Team that I think that had only lost 8 games all year, never lost 2 games in a row. Everybody that you talked to, getting the scouting reports, just raved about them. Said they can do it all. They're going to hit. They're going to play great defense. They're going to pitch. They're going to play the game the way it's supposed to be played. And but of course, we were confident. We knew this team was tough enough to win on the road, and we have done it all year. One of the things that hadn't been said a lot is we had a great road record. And so I don't know which one we wanted. If we wanted state here, or we wanted to go on the road to Lafayette. And so I kind of wouldn't answer that question. We'll take whatever is put in front of us. But just a neat atmosphere. Not a big crowd, but a very boisterous crowd. A crowd that was in it from inning 1, and they know how to cheer a little bit down there in Lafayette.
Well, game 1 gets away from us, and Christian, there is a story about the pregame meal in game 2. Go ahead and let us know what happened when you walked in that pregame meal.
All right. So it was it was post-game meal after the first night. And I mean, I'm not in too bad of a mood. And I went up to Coach to laugh. And I was like, hey, Coach, you know where the season's at right now? And he looks at me and just doesn't know what I'm going to say. And I just point to the shoulders, like right here. And he's just like, oh, Jesus, just go to bed and do your thing.
Mike, your message to the team going into that second game?
Well, I said in the press conference, the post game after game 1, that a lot of questions. Would you be able to handle this? We had the lead, we lost the lead. Now obviously they're in the driver's seat. But I would be shocked if this team wouldn't respond and play very well. And we knew it. We talked about it. This is what it's all about. And especially if you can win game 2, then you turn the tables. If you win game 2 now, as we know from years past, the pressure is immense. In game 3, when you had an opportunity in game 2, and but I'll tell you, one of the things that I remember about game 2. The coaches told me about Christian's comments, which as a coach, it makes you excited, makes you proud that the kid wants the ball and wants there, especially a Louisiana kid. And then number 2 is, as I always meet with the team 15 minutes prior to the game out on the field. We go over the signals. The last time I usually tell them a quick motivational story. And they know that routine, so they start to walk out about 20 minutes to the start of the game, and they're out there playing tag and running around. I mean, we're about to be live on ESPN. The ESPN cameras got them. I'm saying, well, they're certainly not tight tonight. That's for sure. So,
and game 2 went pretty well.
The crowd will have to get revved up again. Line to right. Extra bases perhaps for Allen. Anderson motors his way to third. Trouble in the corner for Butler, and Ole Miss will get on the board. To short, the freshman Robinson will go the easy way for the first, and it's a beautiful turn by Overby. First double play turned by Ole Miss tonight.
Who's going to flinch first? What pitcher will flinch first in this pitcher's duel? What defense may flinch first and cost the winning run?
2-strike pitch. And that one is crushed to left. Adams at the wall trying to size it. Hotty toddy, Ole Miss back in front. busting at the seams all weekend and maybe again tomorrow. Ole Miss one strike away from extending it. Another night in Acadiana for the Ole Miss Rebels. They have evened the series at 1.
Before we talk about what you told the team in Game 3, there was a pretty boisterous group of 600 Rebel fans there behind our dugout.
No doubt. And, you know, and that's how it's set up for a regional, that they give you, you know, they're allowed to give you 600 seats. You know, some places don't sell tickets. Well, they're going to sell all of theirs, so you're only getting 600. And but we had a great 600, and I know some people couldn't get seats, but the 600 that showed up that were there, you know, made a difference. There's no doubt. And you know, in that game they kept the tickets in the same spot. So in that game we were actually in the third base dugout, and our fans were still over the first base dugout. But you know, just great support by the Ole Miss family.
Well, you know, going into Game 3, important to get off to a pretty good start. We got a pretty good start there.
Anderson jumps on it to right. Butler to the track, at the wall. Gone! Two-run shot for Anderson. Ole Miss back in front. Orvis jumps on this one. Butler out of room again. Back-to-back jacks for Ole Miss.
And you know that, of course, you could see the rain there. That was that unusual game where the wind was actually blowing in till it started raining. The wind blew out. We hit a couple out that inning.
And I didn't realize, and you didn't see in that clip, but I've seen another clip since from center field on Sykes' home run, how hard it was actually raining. Because sometimes when you're in the moment and you're in the game, or you're the coach and you're in the dugout, you know, you don't get it. But it was raining hard. It was pouring, and so regardless of where the wind was blowing, it's tough to hit a ball out when it's getting knocked down by rain. And we got two of them in that inning, by Sykes and Austin, and then just, of course, to grab the lead in Game 3 is huge.
Hitting a home run, deciding Game 3, that was a pretty cool moment, huh, Sykes?
Yeah, that's definitely up there for one of my most memorable moments from the season. For home run wise, yeah, it was cool to go out there and kind of silence that crowd. I mean, they were loud, like Coach B said, and they were all over us, so shut them up a little bit was pretty fun.
I imagine when we finish this game, that's one of the good moments for all of us.
And now, Robinson handles it. And they're going to Omaha. Hotty toddy in Omaha.
Mike, a lot of great celebration moments on the field, but with players and coaches and coaches and coaches. But for me, and we've been friends a long time, one of the cool things was you and your family getting to celebrate that on the field.
Yeah, you know, it even gets you a little emotional now. We're human. You know, we got families, we got wives, we got kids, and sometimes I think that's lost in it. You know, the wife and the kids, and you know, there's great moments like that, and there's tough moments when you go home, and they have to handle it as well. And so, yeah, it was a special night for the Biancos for sure.
And certainly I had a coach's wife as well at one point, and they can't do anything but sit there and.
Oh, it's a worse job, believe me. Yeah, it's a worse job. Yeah, they certainly, it's not mentioned a lot, but and thank you for mentioning it. But it was a neat moment, and to have my father there, and we had my son who's going to college in New Orleans, drove up every night, go to class. At least he's supposed to go to class and drive up and every night for the game. It was a special night for sure.
Well, of course, that celebration leads us to Omaha, Nebraska. And before we get into some individual games and things, and I'll kind of go one by one, just the overall experience of the whole downtown ballpark and just the Omaha experience.
I mean, we kept joking around. We didn't think it was real until we finally landed. We were like, something's gonna happen. Like they're gonna reject us or something. But once we finally got there and we landed, I mean, we were just like kids in a candy shop. We were just in awe. We were walking around. As soon as we got to our hotel, we threw all our stuff in our room and just took off downtown just to walk around. And downtown Omaha is probably one of the cooler places I've ever been. They have that old market area where it's like cobble roads and all these awesome restaurants, and it's honestly just a baseball festival. And you run into other guys on other teams. I mean, everybody's so excited to be there, and it was awesome.
Yeah, you kind of go into it, you don't know what you're gonna expect. I mean, no offense to Nebraska, but I was kind of thinking like baseball field and like cornfields. But like, I mean, it's unreal. It's the place to go when you get there. It's you feel like you finally made it, and you don't really feel it until you actually step on the field and there's 25,000 people there. I mean, it's something else.
Trent, all you have to do is go like 10 miles in either direction.
No, we found that out quickly. We went to a movie theater out in the middle of nowhere, so yeah, we found out.
Mike, you had been there as a player, you'd been there as an assistant coach, but obviously first experience as a head coach.
I'd been there 5 times, but and when I left LSU, I had the blueprint. At one point, I actually even had like our itinerary and what to pack. And like when I was at LSU as an assistant, and we had gone, and you get spoiled. We had gone so much, and you just assumed that would happen. And what we always thought was a huge advantage is when we got there, we knew exactly what to expect, where to eat, what to do, and I didn't think it was going to take me 17 years to get back there. 3 at McNeese and then 14 here, but much different experience, obviously, and a new stadium. Not everything's changed, but even the stadium has changed. And what a great thing that they did. They moved it downtown, and there's a lot of comments about how the park plays, and that's true. It plays giant, and it's hard, and it's at times almost not fair that the championship should be played there because there's the game is different in that stadium with the wind gushing in, and different than anywhere you're going to play. But besides that, and I think sometimes it takes on too much of the publicity. Omaha does such an awesome job. The city, where they put it, as Syke said, wherever you walk downtown in that old market area, I've never been to a bowl game, but I would assume it's like a bowl game where everybody's wearing their school colors, and you're bumping into TCU people or Virginia or Vanderbilt, and you're walking into LSU people, and they're not even there. And but just they do it right. Nobody does it better than Omaha.
Virginia gets us game 1, and then truly one of the really special moments of the season happens game 2 with Texas Tech.
What a story. The senior, 5th-year senior, John Gatlin, to come to the plate. Greenwood at third, Brantley Bell at first with 1 out. Winning run at third base. And a 1-2 pitch. Swung on, line drive, center field. It's a walk-off base hit for Gatlin, and the Rebels stay alive in the College World Series.
Coach John Gatlin, one of your senior leaders, even though he didn't get to play a whole lot. How awesome was that?
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, to have a great team, your stars, and to have a great year, your stars got to play well, obviously, at the right time, but you got to have some other guys, step up and be stars, or at least stars in the moment. And, John at some point made a comment, and those that don't know John's history, John came from junior college at Omaha Community College, played his first year and was going to be the starting second baseman in 2013. And a couple weeks prior to the season, dives for a ball, dislocates his shoulder. And so here's a kid that's not going to graduate with his class because he's going to come back the next year, and he really doesn't know what's really entailed for him. And he comes back this year and doesn't play very much. So he went from being possibly the starting second baseman to really just a part-time player. Actually, in the last few weeks, we warmed them up in the bullpen. We brought one less pitcher. And instead of bringing 12, which is normal on an SEC roster, we brought 11. And Gatlin, if we were in trouble and had to pitch somebody, we would pitch Gatlin. And so just a class kid, and so as you know, it's so neat. What a great feeling when good things happen to good people. And there's not too many that are better than John Gatlin.
We get that W, we come back, play really good against TCU, get that win. Virginia, really good Virginia team, knocks us out. End of the year meeting is always the hardest one. I imagine the outfield Omaha is the best place to have that end of the year meeting. But you certainly, a lot of outstanding players that played in that game won't be back.
Yeah, and when I look back at it, all the seasons end in a loss unless you win a national championship. And so I think as a coach, you're never really prepared for that moment. You go into the game thinking that you're going to win. And I was just thinking when that clip was going on where somebody said it was an elimination game and they stay alive, I don't know if one of the neat things about this team, we didn't look at it that way. I mean, everybody knew that was a possibility, but we have to win to stay alive. We have to win to not go 0-2 and that type of stuff. We played great against TCU, and then Virginia was just playing really well. And that's one of the things that happened, I think, in postseason, especially in that stadium, is that line is so razor thin that you can't make a mistake, or the teams are too good and they're going to win. And so walking out to left field, what do you say to them? And basically, my message was that I'm not sad that we lost. This team, that team that you watched, that you've seen and supported all year long, is the greatest baseball team that ever played here. I mean, even Stephen Head says that now. And so how can I be that sad, that we lost to Virginia in the semifinals of the national championship? The sad thing is that team will never play again. That we'll have another team this year, the 2015 Rebels, but that team will never play again. Will Allen won't put the uniform on anymore, and Austin Anderson and others, John Gatlin and others at that time we didn't know, but like guys like Bousfield and Ellis and other guys that chose to sign professional baseball contracts. So that to me was the sad moment, and the challenge for these guys was what great leadership that team had with Allen and Anderson. Not much was said about that. Guys like Austin Anderson, that was the starting shortstop for 3 years. Now his senior year, he's going to be captain, and we're asking you to not play shortstop anymore. We're asking you to go play third base and let this freshman play shortstop. We'll be a better team if he plays shortstop. And he never flinched. He said, I'll play wherever you want, and really was, I think, a great mentor to Errol, Robinson. And there were so many moments like that. So the challenge for these guys was to learn from that. Make sure that you can do this next year, because I really think, we talk about toughness, but it was just a great team that was full of great leaders. Yeah, we had some great young players, but the older guys played great. The older guys really, saved their best for last.
Came home to a great celebration, I thought, here. The Rebel fans showed up again. And then, Sykes, you got to go back and go to Omaha again for the home run derby. That was good experience for you.
Yeah, that was pretty exciting. I mean, I was that Monday. We got back Sunday, so the next day I was working camp, and Bill Bunning gave me a call, and he was like, "Hey, you just got invited to the College Home Run Derby back in Omaha." And I was like, "Sweet." So we got out there, and I didn't know you get to hit with the old bats out there.
That was pretty fun.
Yeah, and the big deal during the College World Series is just, I mean, how big that field was, and no one can get any ball out. I mean, we took about 5 or 6 BP rounds out there, and I hit one ball out the whole time I was there. So I kind of had a chip on my shoulder and had a little beef I wanted to squash. But yeah, I got to go out there and met a lot of cool guys. And I mean, I didn't know what to expect. And I mean, it was a sold out crowd, 25,000 people, and got to go and hit some home runs on ESPN. So it was a pretty cool experience.
I do have one question for you. I want to know what that was.
Oh God. That's been my running Halloween costume for the past 3 years, and I mean, we did it on July 3rd, and so the next day was 4th of July, and I was gonna wear it at the lake the next day, and I brought it with me, and I was like, I'll just see what I can possibly do with this, and I showed Trace Barrera, who's the catcher at Texas. I was like, "What do you think about these? Like, if you don't wear that for BP," he's like, "Don't even go back out there." So I went out there, and everybody thought I was crazy at first, and then they started just rolling with it, but kind of took off, and my mom was like, "Why did you do that to me?" She was more.
Was there any truth to it? If you won it, that was this coming year's BP top. Was that the deal?
I should have made that the deal. I was if I made it to the championship round, I was gonna hit on that, but thank God I ended up doing that. But no, I mean, I would love for that to be our BP top. I think Trent would like it too.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, we're going to play baseball in 2015, right?
We are, and you know, it's been great, and it's been great to talk about, and going around the state, and you know, meeting all the fans and people that went to Omaha, and hearing all the stories about, you know, them or going to Lafayette, and it'll be something that, you know, we'll all cherish, and not just the players and the coaches and the people that were involved, but of course, you know, the Ole Miss family. But we will play again, you know, this mid-February, and excited about it. And of course, you know, you got some great ones coming back in Christian and Sykes and Errol, you know, at shortstop, you know, Colby Bortles and J.B. Woodman, and I think, you know, similar to last year where, you know, we return a solid nucleus, but there's going to be room and have to be room for some very young, talented kids, you know, to step on the field and make a name for themselves, just like JB did last year, and Errol and Colby Bortles, and so I'm excited about it. Of course, you know, on the mound, you know, we returned Christian, and then we got Sam Smith back. We got Weathersby back, Wyatt Short, Brady Bramlett's back from arm surgery and had a great summer, and, you know, some new recruits. So we just started, you know, the first day of school, so we've been out. This is week 3. And I know the players are excited for the weather change as much as anyone, because it's certainly been hot out there. But we start official practice September 19th, and that's really where this all starts. And Ben's been out there kicking their rear ends in the weight room and the strength and conditioning. And one of the neat things that you know, Christian mentioned, and I don't know if anybody picked up on it, you were asking him how hard it was, and then, you know, he said, you know, this year, you know, just getting through it, and it's much easier. But what's amazing is they're doing more than they did last year at this time, but yet the guys, it's amazing what you can do. And so that's what they're learning. And the young guys, see, you know, there's a standard, you know, we're talking, you know, there's a standard of toughness. You know, there's a standard of toughness here. See, last year when they went through it for the first time, you know, that was what was missing. We may have done something like that my first few years, but we kind of lost that. We lost that edge. We lost that toughness about our program. We were recruiting good players, but we lost that edge. Well, we got it back last year, and now, you know, with these, you know, great players returning, there's a standard for that. So when you look at the new guys, I think when, you know, Tate Blackman and Kyle Watson and those guys are going through these things, they think that's what they're supposed to do. I mean, they think that's, you know, it's hard, but they think, and again, it's a standard.
We know Coach likes the new guys. Sykes, what, you like the new influx of talent?
Yeah, I mean, they've been good so far. I mean, they all the new guys, first time ever, they're all up here this summer. So me and Trent got to hang out with them, and I mean, they're tough, man. Like Coach B was saying, Fleming's made his workouts harder, and we didn't think that was possible after this year. But he's made up some even crazier, more terrible things, and and they're handling, they're rolling with the punches, and they're exceeding a lot of expectations. So I'm ready to get going on the field and see what they look like when they're playing.
Coach, one off-field change. Cliff Godwin got to go back home, go to East Carolina, his alma mater as the head coach. I know you're happy about that for Cliff.
It's always, you know, mixed emotions, and if you have good people, you know, they're going to move on. And Cliff Godwin got hired by East Carolina, his alma mater, at the end of June. Something that we knew even into Omaha. You know, Cliff had been interviewed and knew that it was an opening, and knew that, you know, he was likely going to get that job. And but what that did was enable us to hire another great one, a guy by the name of Mike Clement. Comes to us from Kansas State. Mike was the hitting coach and recruiting coordinator at Kansas State. Prior to that, he was at Texas A&M when they went to the College World Series. He was a son of a coach, and just I think terrific. Another terrific addition to the staff.
And fortunately, the rest of the staff, all the way down through operations people, including Andrew. By the way, I do want to thank Andrew Case. He's hit that button right on cue tonight, putting the videos up. But everybody else, I know that's important to be able to keep.
It is, and you change. I think is good, and you know, we're excited about having Coach Clement. But there is, you know, a great thing, great comfort in knowing that guys know the system, and guys like Coach Lafferty and Stephen Head, and you know, some of the guys, you know, like Andrew, our director of operations, and Mark McMillan, you know, make our job so much easier. And these are things that, you know, people don't realize. You know, we sometimes don't have the staff of football and basketball and the, you know, the video tech guys. He's all that wrapped into one. He's the guy that makes the hotel and orders the food, and then when you tell him you're going to the Overby Center on Friday, he puts a video together and then comes over here and figures out how to make it work, and you know, makes our lives a lot easier. So you do feel like a football coach every once in a while. So they've been great.
Coach, I know we're bumped up against the time, but we were going to see if just a couple of questions, if there's anybody.
What can college baseball do to keep the talent that you've recruited, that you work so hard, so that they can stick around, graduate, and then you continue?
Right. Well, it's really, we don't have control of that. It's really the Major League Baseball and how they set up the draft. There's committees from college baseball that meet with the MLB people. I don't know what the best change would be. You know, it happens in the other sports, not as much as us. One of the things that I think, I feel, they're not going to keep them from drafting high school kids. You know, that's just not going to happen. It's, you know, I don't see. They now have to wait till their junior year, their 21st birthday. That's better than some of the other sports like basketball. One of the things that I would like, that I think would be, I think they cut themselves short. See, we have to go recruit a player, give him a scholarship, and he has to play. They draft 40 players every year, not to mention supplemental picks, not to mention international free agents. And this influx of players come into each of the 30 organizations, and then they have rookie ball, low A, high A, double A, triple A, the major leagues. They have to run that gauntlet, that filter, you know, 500 at bats, and that's how it's always kind of been designed in baseball. And I always say, you guys don't give yourself enough credit. You know, why don't you only draft 20 instead of 40? Why don't you just have A, AA, and AAA? You don't need that many players. We do it. We recruit a kid, and he has to play. You guys pay the scouts more money, make them evaluate better, draft the right players, and quit drafting, you know, 1,500 kids a year and having all these kids, because that's it's tough for the kids. It's tough for a kid to turn down $200,000 or $500,000 or $1 million. It's tough to do, and you say, well, you know, they should. Well, you haven't done that, or your kid hasn't done that. It's tough for an 18-year-old kid to walk away from that kind of money because they think they can always do this, but the truth of the matter is they don't. Less than 1% that sign out of high school ever graduate from college. And the thing is, even if they do, they don't have the same experience that these kids have. They don't have those memories. right? And they don't have the college experience at 18 to 22. Yeah, maybe you can come at 28 to 32 and finish, but you're going to be the oldest guy in the student section on Saturday at the football game. So it's not the same experience. So I agree with you, but don't see that changing. I mean, there might be some adjustments, but there always going to be an avenue for those kids to leave either before they get here or while they're here.
Is Major League Baseball even considering perhaps dropping all the different stair steps?
They don't. The thing is, they don't have to. It's their own industry. And so they're saying, hey, we're giving them a chance to earn money and a chance to live out their dream. And we're giving the kid the opportunity. The kid can go to college. We're not forcing him to do that. And so, they're not going to do anything that they think may hurt them. I just think I think they waste millions of dollars. They give a lot of money to people that can't play baseball. We know it. We say there's no way. He's talented, he runs fast, or he throws hard, but he's not going to pitch in the big leagues. But they'll give him $1 million and let him play for about 4 years and then realize that he can't and then release him. There's so much money that's wasted through that draft, and twice as many college kids that sign make it. We're the best minor league system that they have. Twice, if you sign out of high school versus the kid that signed out of college, the kid out of college has twice as good a shot at making it to the major leagues than the kid out of high school. And so, but, it's still, again, tough for an 18-year-old kid to walk away from that.
Talk a little bit about the new balls and whether or not the bats are going to affect this year.
The bat change came back in 2011 was the first year, 2011. And what they did, for lack of a scientific term, it made it deader. The ball won't travel as far. And but college baseball's been played, even when I played back in the 80s, with a raised seam ball. Those red laces on the ball, they're raised. And if you held a pro ball in your hand, a minor league or a major league ball in your hand, and held a college ball, you would know immediately. I mean, even if you're a woman and never played baseball, you could close your eyes and feel it's significant how much higher our seams. Why we play with that ball, I don't know. I mean, it happened a long time ago. Well, one of the theories is because they changed the bats and they've taken so much offense out of the game, how do we get the game back? I don't think the bats are ever going to change because of liability now. If they change the bats back and, God forbid, some pitcher catches one, a line drive back hit at him in the head and dies, the NCAA, is opening themselves up for a lawsuit. So I don't see the bats changing back the way they were. But I think the ball is a good start. We just got the balls to hit with them this week. The new ball that we'll use this year is a lower seam ball. It feels like the minor league ball, exactly like the minor league ball. It's not wound as tight as the minor league ball. It still doesn't respond like the minor league ball. People don't realize that they swing wood, but they use a ball that travels further than ours, goes off the bat faster than ours, and because of the rotation of the ball, our seamed ball, the drag with the high seam slows it down, and so it doesn't travel as far. Most studies that they show, being technical, ball going at 25-degree angle, which is the average home run, at the spin rate of an average home run that's shot out of a cannon, just like a home run. The raised seam ball goes 360 feet. The lower seam ball that we'll use this year, 380 feet, about a 20-foot difference. And so does that mean every ball is going to go 20 feet? No, but we've already seen the difference, and so I think we'll hit more home runs. Now, does that mean you're going to double your home runs? I don't think so, but it'll help guys like Sykes that hit fly balls, hit more fly balls. So balls that he hit on the warning track, hopefully this year will be home runs or balls against the fence. But somebody like a Cam Deshawn that doesn't hit, home runs, who may hit one, I don't know if he's going to hit, 10, but Sykes might get 5 more or 6 more home runs. I can see that happening.
Coach, we promised to get you out of here. How about if we just get one more question?
You guys have had quite a few memorable games with TCU over the last few years. Describe that series and also your relationship with Coach Schlossnagle.
You TCU guy with that purple shirt? There you go. The head coach at TCU is Jim Schlossnagle, and I met Jim, and we developed a friendship long time ago. He was an assistant coach at Tulane when I was at LSU, and I actually tried to hire him when I got the job here, but he wouldn't leave. He stayed at Tulane and then later became the head coach at UNLV. Was there for, I think, 1 year and then took over TCU and has just done a fabulous job there. And we started a series, years ago, home and home with them, and we'll probably continue. We've kind of put it on standby just because they went into the Big 12 and they didn't really know their schedule and didn't know how much they wanted to take on at that time. But he's done a wonderful job there. Obviously, we've had some great series, some great games with them. Actually coached, he was the head coach of the USA national team in the summer of 2013, and I was fortunate enough that he hired me to be his pitching coach. And so that was a great honor for me to represent our country and be the pitching coach on the USA team, but a neat thing to be side by side with him and Tim Esme from Arizona State and Ed Service from Creighton that whole summer, and you learn a lot. So tremendous respect for him, tremendous coach, and hopefully we'll be playing him soon.
Well, thank you to the Overby Center. Curtis, thank you so much for having us tonight, and thank you guys very much for your time.